Hello everybody, I'm Brett, KE9BOS. Still a pretty new hand if my call sign didn't give it away, about 14 months or so. How many here know Morse code or do CW? Okay, so a third, maybe half.
A little bit.
Give or take. How many wish you could be on the air more often and don't really have the opportunity to on Morse code? Okay, not as many, but some. I kind of fall in that category myself. Long story short, I'm a bit technical in nature just from background and stuff that I do, and I ran across an open source project that somebody in college had stood up to make a little USB adapter that lets you plug in your Morse code key to your computer and do stuff. Very similar to the V-band adapter. If you're familiar with that, it's probably the most well-known one, but there's plenty of knockoffs out there. I like that particular project because one, it was dead. The particular individual who developed it left it when he got out of college and didn't want to touch it anymore, so he handed it over to me, which pretty much gave me free rein to do a lot of interesting ideas that I had with some friends. And two, I think it offered a lot of stuff that maybe some of the other adapters didn't offer that was pretty interesting. So if you've ever heard of the Vail community, probably haven't, but if you had, I guess I wouldn't be surprised. It's a group of, I don't know, a couple hundred of us who work on hardware and software to make it easier to learn CW and to like do Morse code in maybe non-traditional ways, which would be like not on the air whenever you may not have the opportunity to do so. The one thing that I think a lot of people may know Vail for is the nifty little adapter. This one's actually Gary's. He had me bring one in for him, but this essentially you can take it. It has a key built into it. You can plug a normal like Morse code key into it as well. You don't have to use the little touch things. Has a headphone jack for people who maybe want to plug it into a speaker, or plug it into some headphones. This particular one also can plug into your radio, so you can key your radio with it, which is interesting. And it also has a whole bunch of, keep touching it, a whole bunch of options to do like recording CW memories and stuff, so that you can maybe do your CQ quotas a little bit easier than having to key them out every time or use it for contesting. This has been pretty popular for folks lately, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily for the radio side of things. It's mainly for people who are trying to learn Morse code. I don't want this to sound like a sales pitch. Yes, I do sell them. No, I don't want you to buy them from me, but if you want, that's fine. It's an open source project. All the plans are online. I can share it in the Discord, and you can make it with as little as like $9 in parts, which is pretty cool. The more advanced ones like this probably take $15 in parts and maybe a little bit of extra time, but they're most definitely doable DIY. Everything that we do, we built out probably 12 or 15 different training tools online that I'll talk about here in a second. We have about 5 different variations of this adapter, and we're also making something that's incredibly similar to the Morserino, if you're familiar with it, little handheld with a screen thing. Difference is ours does a whole lot more, and it's open source, and it has a keyboard. So I actually did bring it. I probably won't demo it, but if you want to check it out afterwards, that's cool. But everything that we do, we're 100% open source with all of it. We make sure all the plans are online. We'll make sure that if you don't like using the tools where we host them and how we host them, that you're able to download them yourself and edit them and do whatever you want with them too. And that's kind of the end of that part of the spiel. This here is what we call the Vail repeater. It's very similar to what V-band has as well online, so maybe you want to talk to folks. Oh, you're on there too. Yeah, so I don't know if a non-6196 is actually here right now, but I figured I'd try. Oh, it is you. Okay, so I guess you are there. But essentially it gives you the ability to talk to other people via CW without having to use your radio. Maybe when propagation's bad, maybe you're not home, maybe you're in a hotel for work and you don't have your radio on you, and you still want to brush up on your skills and talk to people, you can do that. That delay is intentional. It's a technical feature to make sure that we don't have weird latency issues. But anyways, the neat thing about this is you can create private rooms. There are a few folks who actually host classes on this regularly. And so you can create your own private room that only other people with the meeting code would be able to hop into. It's very similar to like a Zoom in that regard. And it gives you the ability to use something like this instead of having to finagle with your mic settings to get your side tone from your radio to work. If any of you have ever been in a Long Island CW Club or CW Academy meeting and watch people fight to get their mics to work properly, this kind of cuts through that noise and makes it a little bit easier to do. And so usually on Friday nights we have quite a few folks who get on. I think current record's 26 in one evening all at the same time, which was one heck of a uncoordinated net, as I like to call it, because none of us had any clue what we were doing with that many people in one room. But usually you'll find some folks you can talk to on here most evenings, maybe not so on Mondays. Another thing that we do, I kind of alluded to, is we built out a whole bunch of tools. Now, there's lots of CW training tools online. I personally feel a lot of them feel really dated. I guess just me being on the younger side of the crowd, I'm the smartphone generation and I like big buttons and things to be modern and easier looking. So we ended up taking a lot of ideas that other people had come up with, mixing them with some ideas that we had ourselves, and came up with a whole bunch of training tools, everything from just listening to Morse code and typing it out, like quizzes you, single characters, full call signs. Here at Say, it's a new one for us. It uses your microphone and voice recognition. Kid you not, there's somebody who does long haul trucking that literally just puts this on Bluetooth and just sits and yells at his phone to practice CW for hours while he's driving in the middle of like North Dakota or something, which is pretty funny. Sending practice, so you can use one of these adapters to like key stuff out, and it quizzes you on speed and cadence and accuracy and all that kind of thing. We recently had a request from somebody that they wanted to be able to record their practice so they could send it into an instructor, right? I think for CW Academy. There really isn't a super easy way of doing that. Some people use their phones with like an audio recording app or whatever, but we built out a tool that lets you use an adapter like this, and you can key all day long and it'll export it to an MP3 that you can share with instructors or whomever. Maybe you want to play it back for yourself later, kind of thing. So that was kind of a new one that I think only literally one person uses it, but he asked for it and it took me a day. Figured why not build it? Maybe there's others that'll find it interesting. And then something else that we're also toying with is, if you're familiar, there's an open source project called Morse Walker that's like CW QSO trainer. It's open source, but that particular developer also seems to have not touched it in almost a year. So we took a copy of it, flipped it onto our site, and we're updating it quite a bit, so soon it'll have the ability not to just type keyboard, you'll actually be able to use your adapter to talk to it, which is pretty nifty. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to share. There's a pretty interesting communities that are starting to pop up online, Vail being one of them, where it's radio adjacent, but it's for maybe the folks who are trying to learn or do things off the air when maybe they can't necessarily get on the air yet or in their current circumstances. And it still gives them the ability to kind of do that and find a group who's similarly aligned. Questions? Yeah?
Your device there, is it microprocessor control?
Yeah, so for those who may understand a few of the words I'm about to say, this uses a Arduino SAMD21 processor, so it's incredibly small, incredibly cheap. These things are like $6 for just the Arduino itself, maybe $7 or $8 depending on where you get it. And then it has a buzzer, and it has a 3.5mm jack on it, and that's really the simplest form of that open source project. This one's got like extra circuit to protect your radio and protect your Arduino for the radio modes. It's got the capacitive touch on it. It has the headphone jack out, but all the schematics for all those things are online as well, and they can be done. We developed a PCB that makes it way easier to do. You don't have to go soldering a whole bunch of wires together and cramming them in a little box. Although there are plenty of people out there, I legit see photos of people putting them in a Tupperware container and drilling holes in the sides of them and plugging them in, and they work just fine. So there's plenty of ways you can do it. But yeah, in its simplest form, it's just an Arduino and a few jacks.
Did you develop it in the Arduino IDE, and what language?
So when I took over the project, there was like I guess what you would call, we still call it the basic adapter whenever we talk about it in the group, but it didn't have the radio functionality, it barely had capacitive touch, it didn't have the buttons, there's 3 buttons on this one, it didn't have radio output, and so it was a very basic Arduino sketch that was just like, it essentially emulated a MIDI device or a keyboard, and it would work with your computer with one specific program for the most part, and it was the Vail repeater that I showed you, a much older version of it. This one was updated by myself. And then we took it from there and we used the Arduino IDE and we built out a much more complicated, I like to say probably too complicated project these days, but mainly to support this particular adapter that's far more advanced. And the upcoming one with the screen and all of that too. So yeah, we use Arduino.
Is it C?
Yep. Yeah.
Is this space here your contribution in that community? Are there branch outs?
That's a good question. For the most part, there's a whole bunch of us that work on stuff. I tend to be the one who owns, and I mean owns is the wrong word, but technically I do, owns and maintains the online infrastructure. So this particular website, the Vail Repeater, we have another one that we're training an AI bot to have CW conversations with you. I own that one. The Vail Adapter website I also maintain and run. So a lot of just the online infrastructure I tend to host and run just because I started to, and it's just easier if I continue to do it. But then there's a handful of other folks that are like individually contributing. I only made 2 of these tools. The other 3 were made by other folks.
Okay.
And they're all going into the same GitHub, and we're all working on a lot of that together. So it just kind of depends on what everyone works on. My expertise typically is the online infrastructure and the Vail adapters. And then we have a whole bunch of folks that are coming in with as little as just ideas to as much as like coming up with whole new tools, and they want to put them in the same ecosystem. So.
And this is where that collaboration comes into one place.
Yeah. Like, will I own the online infrastructure forever? Probably not. I just kind of took it over from the guy who owned the project before and just went with it. As more maybe developer-minded folks join the group and maybe are interested in like co-running or co-maintaining a lot of this stuff, I'm definitely happy to let it go. But with the open source projects also licensed such that like anybody can build these and sell them. Like I sell them, that's fine, but like anyone else could literally stand up a store right now and sell them, and there's nothing to stop them. Totally happy if they did. All the PCB files and everything's online, go right ahead. But we tried to make sure that it was as freely available and as easy as possible. Trying to ship stuff overseas is really hard right now, so it's actually, we've had a lot of people in Australia and a few in England, a couple in Germany who've been really thankful that like the files are available because they just get stuff made or sourced in their area instead of me trying to ship it to them for $30 in shipping.
What's the URL again?
Yeah, so the main URL that you would probably be the most interested in, it's kind of the place that you can get to everything, is vailadapter.com. From there, there's the links to like the repeater, and then all the other stuff is there too. But yeah, this would be kind of the place that you would start with. We also have a Discord. I know some people probably like Discord, some people don't, but that tends to be where a lot of our like developing and engineering stuff tends to happen. You're there a lot. I am. And Gary. Yeah, that's where we tend to talk about stuff. So if you ever, this is actually a really good point I wanted to make. If there's ever any online tools that you use currently and they irritate you when it comes to CW, just reach out to me. I can probably fix it in like a week. That's how a lot of this stuff came up. It was just like, I liked this other tool. There's this old, it's called the Instant Character Recognition tool that somebody had made. It's like black text, white screen, looks older than MySpace. It works okay. But honestly, it's broken more than it works. We rebuilt it in like 3 days, and it looks really nice. It works on a phone. That's the guy sitting in his long hauler trucker just yelling at a screen. So we can do stuff like that, and we really like doing it because it just makes it that much more accessible to folks. And people who are trying to learn, especially, any roadblock is probably a reason why they won't come back to it. Yeah.
Abe just sent CQ in the repeater if you want to.
Oh, did he?
On it, yeah.
I mentioned to Abe that I was going to be on. Oh yeah, there's quite a few people there.
Will there be any plans for app integrations? I know a number of folks kind of either MIDI or through other signals.
Yeah, so we actually have somebody who uses one of these with a Flex Radio, because Flex Radio supports MIDI. This thing has 2 different modes, a keyboard mode, which really is just to be backwards compatible with stuff that the V-band adapter that's been out in the world forever can use. And then the MIDI mode, which essentially just acts like a MIDI musical instrument of sorts, if you're familiar with that protocol on USB. So I know people who use it with Flex Radio, and I think you can't do it on Windows, but on Mac and on iOS, you can essentially use this remotely with your Flex Radio and key your radio, and it works great from what I've heard. Then there's also the Hermes 2 Lite. Somebody uses it with that. There's a Bluetooth interface of some sort with that you can use it with. The protocols for how this repeater works are also posted online. So for example, the Summit device, the standalone device we're making, it communicates with this repeater like not through a web browser or anything. It's using webhooks, and like it's all publicly available. You could build a program that interfaces with this all day long, and it would work day one without issues. So yeah, there's plenty of options out there. There's other tools I've heard that you can use MIDI with. I wish I had the money to own a Flex Radio, and I'd totally try to develop more stuff for it, but I don't own a Flex Radio. But if there's other stuff out there that people use that a USB like adapter would work well with, like by all means try it out. Let us know how it goes. We can probably help you figure it out if it doesn't work well.
I have a feature idea for you.
What's that?
Can you flip the dit and the dot?
Yeah.
You can?
Yeah, well, yes, I can. It's like no time, but it's probably the number one thing we get requested on. I didn't realize how many people are reversed.
I'm left-handed, so I do CW on my right hand, so I can write. And when I do that, I have to switch to polarity.
I like to argue that, yeah, you just turn this over. But that only works on the one that has capacitive touch.
Right.
And if you plug a key in, it's still going to be inverted. So yeah, we're gonna.
Well, your keyboard shortcuts too.
Yeah, so that's actually easy to do as well. We just haven't done it yet. That's probably the number one feature that I keep saying.
Because I was just trying it. I was mentally like,
Yeah, well, I've actually, somebody got me into straight key recently when I told myself I'd never do straight key. And now I can barely even use a paddle anymore. So I keep forgetting that like I need to get back to working on some of the paddle related features.
Did you make those spoon keys that I saw?
Dude, I have one with me.
Do you?
I have a key made out of a spoon.
I saw that on 2 channels.
No, so somebody I know in England that I'm halfway decent friends with designed a straight key that uses a dinner spoon. He calls it the teaspoon telegraph, and it works really well. It's literally the only key on my desk now. Everything else is in a cabinet, and I love it. So yeah, now that I know how to do straight key pretty well, this is the one I use. The guy who came up with this, he's actually going to be releasing all these files for free too, and you can like build your own with your own spoon. So I'm kind of excited to build my own. I want to do one in a different color. But yeah, he just shipped me this blind. He and a friend were developing a Morse code game, and I was giving a lot of feedback on it and stuff. And then he just like sent this to me and was like, "Thanks for all your help. Like, let me know what you think."
I think if I use that long enough, I get hungry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Like the maker community and like ham radio, like just how they overlap in pretty interesting and niche ways that I guess a lot of people probably don't realize.
One other quick comment. I use this Vail adapter as an electronic keyer for an older radio that doesn't have one built in, and it works really well. I have a kit with TS440, and that's what I use.
We actually built that feature because of you.
Yeah.
And I think like in 1 week. But yeah, there's a lot of older radios that only accept straight keys, so you can plug the advanced adapter in. It uses its onboard keyer, and the radio just thinks it's a straight key, just going to town on it. It very consistently, might I add, but it's just emulating a straight key, and then you can plug anything you want into it, which is pretty neat.
Now, can you plug a paddle into your Vail adapter?
Mm-hmm.
Like if I wanted to plug it into my computer for, say, my Morse code class?
Yeah. There's a couple folks in the group that use a program called Banana or Jacked. I can't remember the name of it. But you can essentially take the audio output, the headphone jack on the advanced Vail adapter, and plug it into like a line in or a microphone in on your laptop, and this free program will merge it with your microphone so that when you talk, they all are coming across the same on Zoom. He says it works really well. I haven't got a chance to really try it yet, but I guess that makes sense that it would work.
It's kind of funny to watch me use my 710 over here and have my Zoom over here.
Yeah, I have a 710 too. My microphone is not terribly sensitive even when I try to do the right settings, so I have to really crank it, and that thing's not very pleasant when it's like turned all the way up.
I have an external speaker I have to bring over with me because it just doesn't work.
Yeah. But yeah, actually, I'm going into the Fundamentals CW Academy class in January, and I'm going to be using it, so that'll be cool. Yeah.
Do you have a picture of the Summit prototype you could show us?
I don't have a picture. I have the thing.
What's the thing?
It's here, and it works. It's not really available yet, but we built out a little device that's got its own keyboard, speaker, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. It hosts its own web server. It can do logging for you, export to your logger. It can talk to the Vail repeater. It's got onboard training tools. It's got games. You can study for your ham radio license tests on here now too. I did that 2 days ago. Whole bunch of stuff, but yeah, it's functional and it works, but we're still trying to iron out some of the kinks. And it'll have a built-in key too. I don't have that working at the moment. Just on this case, it functions. I just don't have it wired up. But yeah, this is something that we're currently working on. The reason we're working on this was mainly because I'm really frustrated with the Morse Reno. I love it to death, but I feel like it was built to teach you how to be a parrot, not how to actually like learn like copy. So it's really good at sending and sending and sending, but there's no way for you to like practice copying with it. Not in any like easy way or way that made sense. So I wanted to make something that had a real keyboard on it, that you could listen to Morse code, you could type it in, you could get quizzed on it, and maybe be able to do it when I'm in bed and I don't want to pull out a laptop or an iPad or my phone. The other thing is what I really love about the Morserino is that because it's a device that can't get on Facebook or check my emails or check my work messages, I don't get distracted as easily. So that's why I like having single purpose devices, because it keeps me from getting distracted by text messages or anything else that might come through on the other stuff that I practice with, yeah.
Hey Brett.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying the advanced adapter. Thank you for that again.
Yeah.
Meeting up with me so I can buy one. But I'll mimic what Josh said. It's a nice device. Are you, not to put you on the spot, but are you still hoping the first part of next year for the summit?
Yeah. So technically speaking, I'm selling dev kits, I guess you could call it, like beta testing units. It's literally this. I just shipped 2 today. Just with the caveat that anyone who takes these should probably either have a 3D printer or just be okay with me mailing them updated case parts if we come up with new ideas, right up until it's like officially released. Once it's officially released, which I think we're looking at like end of January, all the files and everything get pushed to the GitHub. Right now there's some stuff there, it's just, my project folder's chaos on my computer and I don't want anyone to have to try to keep up with me right now. So once it's stable in January, it'll all go to the GitHub. You'll be able to make it without a PCB, but I did order literally 500 PCBs and they didn't really cost me that much. So I'll have them available. People don't want to source them themselves. You can wire it up without a PCB, but I couldn't imagine why you would want to put yourself through that pain. There's a lot of stuff in here that would be really hard to do without, especially like transistors and resistors that without a PCB, not really worth it. But yeah, we're hoping like 6 weeks or so when everything's super stable. I think the last couple things we have left to do are tidy up the training modes and get the capacitive touch working, and then just try to like prototype some extra battery covers and stuff. The battery I have in here is really small and it only lasts like 2 hours, maybe 3. But I think if I add just a little bit of thickness to it, the larger battery I want to use will last about 12 to 15 hours, which puts it in the same ballpark as a Morserino, which was kind of what I was hoping. The other nice thing about it is the Morserino is like 80 to 100 bucks, and the parts for this cost 45. So that was the other goal I had, was I wanted to make something that could be affordable. Not that the Morserino is expensive, but just wanted an open source project that people didn't have to, if they want to buy a Morserino they can, but if they bought this they wouldn't feel like they got ripped off if it doesn't do what they wanted to do. So, yeah, if anybody wants to play with this, well, or whatever, that's fine. It can take a key and you can mess with it or do keyboard stuff, but it works. It's just not ready to hand it out yet.
Well, thanks for this presentation. This was really fantastic. I checked out a little bit, but this is
really cool.
you're showing the whole ecosystem. It's really fantastic.
It keeps us busy. Like, my wife can probably attest to it. I think it's probably like, if I'm not at work, the other half of my awake time is probably working on this stuff. So, or shipping. Like, I just shipped 6 or 7 orders today, and that's, everybody's trying to buy a Vail adapter right now. And I keep telling people, like, it's an open source project, you can build it yourselves, and they're like, yeah, but I don't want to solder. So that's why I offer them. Totally fine to sell them to people. I'm not looking to turn this into a business enterprise by any means. It's just, I've gotten 500 of these out in the world over the last year, and I'm really happy about that. And if I didn't offer them, no one else was. It's potentially, a few hundred people who are probably getting the CW that may not have or may not have as easily. So happy to help however I can.
Fantastic.